UFC 281, Adesanya versus Pereira.
All right. We got UFC 281 coming up here in a few weeks. Today is November. It is the 2nd of November. So this card is happening in about 10 days. What we'll look at first is we'll look at Dustin versus Chandler. This fight is, these guys are both just dogs. They're both dogs. Chandler, although he got the very impressive KO over Tony, he was in very deep trouble in that first round. And then Dustin is coming off a loss to Oliveira. Before he fought Oliveira, he was looking like the uncrowned champ. People weren't really putting respect on Oliveira's name. Dustin had a lot of success in the first, and then in the second, it was kind of just a grappling clinic from Oliveira. And then in the third, he was eventually finished. But he put on a very good, he gave a very good account of himself, I feel, in that Oliveira fight. The first round was just nuts. So I think I'm definitely favoring Dustin in this fight. Just his boxing, his experience, although Chandler also has experience. I just feel Dustin's experience in the UFC at the highest level is there. But then again, I'm never going to count Chandler out because he's just an explosive, he's a monster. He's an animal. He always has that power. I feel he can knock anybody on the planet out at 155. But at the end of the day, you got to look at the things you can see. And from what I see, Dustin's hands are better. He has more experience at the highest level. But then again, will Chandler wrestle is another question that I have. Will Chandler wrestle? Because if I feel if he does that, which is 50-50, you never know with him. If he does that, I feel he can have success. But I also feel at the same time, even if he does try to wrestle, Dustin's going to have those opportunities on the feet to connect. And both of these guys have been in wars, but I feel the damage to Chandler is much more prevalent. I don't see Dustin getting rocked by Tony. But yeah. So I think I'm going to go with Dustin on this one. But hey, who knows? Michael Chandler's an explosive animal. Like, you never know with him. You know, he can knock you out or he can get knocked out himself. So I'm leaning Dustin, but I'm excited to see how that one plays out. And then we got Zhang versus Esparza. We all know Esparza versus Rose was just a terrible fight. It was just a stinker, you know. It was a stinker. But before that, Esparza is on a 6-fight win streak. She fought Yan Xiaonan, and she looked great. She kind of, I think that was finished in the second, and she kind of just beat her up. Let's see who else she's fought. Carla Esparza. So she fought Rose, 5-round, one of the most boring fights of all time. She TKO'd Yan in the second. She beat Marina Rodriguez, good win. Michelle Waterson, all right win. Michelle's kind of fallen on hard times lately. Alexa Grasso, who's, I believe she's been winning lately. Alexa's looks to be on a 4-fight win streak. She just, I believe she just main evented as well, which is kind of odd. That's kind of an odd main event. Vina Jandiroba, all right win. I'm not quite sure where Vina's at in her career. She beat Angela Hill, lost to Amanda Ribas. But Yeah. I think prior to this title fight, Zhang versus Esparza, I feel Esparza has looked more impressive than Zhang. Let's see. Yeah, Zhang is on a 1-fight win streak against Joanna, who is coming back after a 2-year layoff. Last time Joanna fought before this was pre-COVID. It was March of 2020, which is a pretty long layoff to be coming back. And I kind of wish they would give Zhang a one more fight before a title fight, but I guess she was already the number 1 contender, or at least the number 2 contender, beat Joanna, so they just gave it to her, whatever. But I feel this fight is going to be a lot more entertaining than Carla's last fight. Zhang is just kind of like Chandler. She's probably the Chandler of the strawweight division. She's fast, powerful, strong. I'm not quite sure what that is going to match up with Esparza's grappling, but we'll have to see. Right now, I'm just leaning Esparza due to the grappling advantage, I would say. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I think I'm leaning Esparza. You know, Zhang is 2-1 in the last over 2 years, since March of 2020, and she beat Joanna in March of 2020, which very arguably could have gone to Joanna. So yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards Esparza. You know, 2 losses to Rose isn't really anything to hang your head on. You know, Rose is an amazing champion. I do see her getting the belt back, being a 3-time champion, I believe. Yeah, that would make her a 3-time champion. So I do see that happening. But for this fight, I am leaning Esparza, and I am very excited for this fight. I think it's going to be a much better fight than Rose versus Esparza. And now for the main event, it is Adesanya versus Pereira. This fight could go one of 2 ways. I don't think it'll be a war. I think it'll either be Adesanya getting slept, or Adesanya putting on an MMA clinic. This isn't kickboxing, it's MMA. Putting on an MMA clinic and grappling, clinch fighting, striking, everything on Pereira, which I think is much less likely than the latter, which is Pereira just sleeping Adesanya. I don't know about Pereira's grappling, his jiu-jitsu. I do know Adesanya is at least a purple belt. I don't know much more than that. I'm pretty sure he's a purple belt. You know, has Pereira been tested in his career? You saw his first fight in the UFC. He fought, I believe he fought Andreas Michailidis, maybe. And he had a fair bit of adversity in that fight. I'm just pulling up Pereira's record. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Alex Pereira slept Sean Strickland, which, whatever. Sean kind of just plodded forward in that fight and didn't really implement the proper game plan, I feel. Sean would have had much more success than he would if he would have just grappled, just tried to implement some type of clinch rather than just plodding forward. And then before that, he beat Bruno Silva, who is he's a formidable opponent. He's a good fighter. But that fight went 3 rounds. But I mean, compared to Adesanya's competition, the two don't really line up. Like there's no really competition there between the two. And then his first fight was in 268, UFC 268 versus Andreas Michailidis, which Pereira knocked him out in the second round, 18 seconds of the second round. But I do remember Michailidis having some success with the grappling. So I am also leaning Adesanya in this fight. Just Adesanya's experience. He's one of the best strikers on the planet. And also his grappling probably is much better than Pereira's grappling. We do know Pereira is training with Glover Teixeira, a light heavyweight legend, but I don't think it's really gonna matter. I think Adesanya, just the experience, the grappling skill that is there, the MMA experience, is gonna reign over Pereira in this fight. So for the top 3 fights of UFC 281, I got Adesanya, I got Esparza, and I got Dustin. So leave a comment, let me know what you think. And until next time.